So what's your name?
Camille.
And the name of your farm?
Cajun Acres Hydroponics.
So could you tell me a little bit about the history of the current operation?
Sure. I actually purchased it a little over a year ago. It was started by a fake uncle of mine, like my dad's best friend for his whole life. But he started it and was trying to think of something cool like this to do in Haiti. We have a bunch of connections in Haiti, so we started a nonprofit there. And I don't know if you know anything about Haiti, but they're just rough. So he was looking for a way to help them learn how to grow their own food. And so he built this in his property in Arnoldville. One day, my husband and I started building it. Like I said, my parents are horticulturists. I grew up in a greenhouse, so that was never a guess for me if I would have one. It just kind of be what I would do. We started building one, and it got knocked down by a hurricane, and that was a really bad storm for our farm. We lost a huge shed, thousands of dollars worth of tools, so much stuff. Another small building, the greenhouse, about 40 chickens. So one day I kind of just joked with them at the farmer's market. I was like, let me just buy your setup. Like that way I don't have to find anything. Like it's all just together. Like just give me yours. And he's like, okay, Creole, okay, sure. Like whatever. And so later on he was like, are you serious? And I'm like, yes. And the price he told us was like laughable. And we made it 4 foot bigger and taller. His posts were on the ground. We elevated it so I had more walk space. And then we added this whole front room to it as well.
Okay, so what kind of crops do you grow throughout the year?
It's always butter lettuce, red oak, kale, basil, and sweetgrass, like a frise.
Who works here? Is there a family working?
This is me. Just my children help. They are the ones who sweep, and they will plant. They would rather they rotate crops. Do about 3 rotations, and they like the second rotation the best, so they'll do that. Just me.
So is it like that year round?
Yeah, I do have a girl who comes on her breaks and stuff. She'll come work. It's been hard.
What about how do you get your crops established? Like I want to ask about like varieties and methods of establishment and timing and spacing.
So that's my favorite part about hydroponics. Like I said, I've grown up in a greenhouse. My parents' greenhouse is my favorite. This takes up less than 80% water, land, and nutrients that a regular farmer would use. Which is just so innovative. So I plant in these little cubes in there. It's an oasis. You can mess with it. It's kind of like what they stick flowers in, but it is different. It does hold the nutrient in there when I soak it. So when they plant, they get covered for germination. It depends on the weather. They stay covered normally for 24 to 48 hours. These are a week old. These are 2 weeks old. And these are 3. These need to come out. They should have been moved out already. I like to move them out when they're a little closer to this stage, just because they get crowded and they start to grow weird. 4 hours automatically. And they have a little nutrient and water in here, and it filters right through. And the lights are also on a timer. They run all day and basically off at night.
Can I ask about your lights and your lighting system?
Sure. It's very basic. They do burn a good bit of energy, but I don't feel like it would be anywhere near the same without them. And then they go out here. So they go out here. Oh yeah, you didn't even get a camera.
Yeah, I didn't even look yet. Wow, it's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
This is called nursery channels. You can see really down there. The holes are very close together. So this just gives them a little more room to grow. Watered 24/7 with nutrients. And then they move into the finishing channels. So these have just more spacing throughout. One of these nursery channels makes 4 finishing. They're all watered 24/7. There's always a water leak. And they stay in here. Plant to harvest is anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. And then I have a few crops here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the 3 days it's on more all back there.
So what are your water and fertilization requirements? I know you said they're watered 24 hours a day, but
yes.
What do you fertilize them with?
It's a liquid fertilizer. I have a box right here, I think. And then they have an acid that's diluted. This gets mixed. It's all automatic. I'm having problems with my pump right now. But it's two different compounds in here. But they come in these bags, and I just blend them with water in buckets. And like I said, it's all automatic, which is a lot of it's automatic, but a lot of it's, I still still have to mix them and drill them together and do all of that. I have to dilute all the acid and keep that filled. Everything, these get clogged all the time.
Okay, so I have another question. So what are some of your, well, in this case, not soil, but soilless media improvement practices? Do you ever have issues with the type of water that you're using, or?
No, I think that's another beautiful part of buying an established business from someone who was so brilliant. We have a filter on our well, and then we have a whole water filtration system up here, the big blue machine, and it takes out the iron in the water, and then it also has another filter within that to get any extra debris or any extra anything that's passing through the water. And then it all goes into an 800-gallon tank buried in the back, and that's constantly recycled, and I flush it all on the first of every month, and it's filled back up with fresh, clean water.
Okay, what about pest management? Do you have pest issues?
Sometimes, yes. You could look at the kale and see plenty. There's a little bug that loves the kale to the front. We keep bug screens on every fan that there is in here. And we try to, I don't let the doors stay open at all if I can help it. There's no animals allowed in here. All of that really helps. Everything is sealed with spray foam, but bugs still get in, I feel.
So tell me about your harvest and post-harvest practices.
Yes, harvest was half today. I definitely always wear gloves, but at harvest I plug the water systems up and I carry all of the channels to the front because that's where I have like my little tables. Each one of these I pull out and their root system comes. Wow. And you could still see like the little oasis that it was planted in. And I squeeze the water gently and rip off the root. And then it goes into a tray and I weigh them all and then I bag them. So cool and fun and different. And if there's ever any, like, sometimes there's a little yellow leaf, you know, I'll take that off. And they all get weighed and then stored in a cooler.
Do you rinse them, or no, is that for the consumer?
I personally don't ever rinse it, but most restaurants do. Some of my customers at the farmer's market rinse them. Some of them have been like, oh, I've never rinsed it, am I supposed to? I'm like, I don't. I mean, it's in a greenhouse.
Okay, so what are your marketing arrangements and timing with marketing like?
I personally love marketing. I have gotten a ton of my business off of social media. And I've gotten a lot of really cool opportunities with that too. I've been on the radio interviewed. I've been in a farm magazine just with somebody who found my whole system off of social media. Mm-hmm. And I think it's brought me a lot of really cool people too. I love seeing that like people are interested. I think it's weird, and I think if you make it seem relatable and doable, I think that's important. I try not to ever spray. It makes me sad when I spray. But look, there's a caterpillar. They love kale. And so sometimes I do have to spray, and I spray with gigantics, which is made from chrysanthemums. And so it makes me a little less sad about having to spray, knowing I'm spraying something that's as pure as it can get.
What are some common problems here at Cajun Acres Hydroponics?
Finding help? No, I'm just kidding. A little bit. There's always a little water leak somewhere like this. If I don't find it quick enough, which I did it last week, it leaves an ouch. And that doesn't necessarily have a negative effect on the plants, but it's personal and I don't want it to get extreme or huge or large or anything like that. So I clean that with a vinegar solution, which does affect the plants if I don't wash it and scrub it enough. And then mechanical issues. It's a lot of automatic things, which is wonderful, but that means so much maintenance. The tubes back here, these get clogged. I have to clean them with every harvest. I'll walk in and there'll be a whole channel of something dead. And then these. So this is all automatic and it pumps out of the nutrient tank and then goes and feeds into the back tank. This is clogged, so it has not been getting, it's supposed to be at 1.2 nutrients and it's at 0.5. So that means it hasn't gotten any nutrients. There's so many things that just have to be checked every single day to make sure something like this doesn't happen.
So is there any special cultural information about this farm that you have to share?
I think it's pretty badass that it's women.
Yes!
Everything is women. It's completely found it, and my husband and I built this entire thing with our own bare hands. We had no physical help. And then everything is female ran and operated. It's exhausting to say that it's all me, but at the same time, it is so.
Okay, are there any practices used here that are unique to your operation?
There's a lot of joy in this greenhouse all the time. And it's always happy in here, and I always have really happy music going. I think that that environment, you know, just like our children, when they're in a certain environment, they learn a certain way. And I think when our plants are in a really happy, peaceful environment, they grow happier.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Of course.